and introduce myself a little bit, and then we can move on from there. If one could confirm me, you are able to see my screen fine, and it's on full screen mode, or do you see uh, not in a presenter mode, or do you see that in presenter mode?
It's in presenter mode. It's fine. It's fine.
Great, awesome. First of all, thank you very much for joining today and making the time to attend the session. And it's an important topic that we are addressing today. It is how to position SentinelOne against Microsoft 365 Defender in the market. As you have been on ground, you're talking to your customers, you're talking to various different organizations, you would have realized from your conversations that the entire EPP and EDR market has now consolidated into just three major players. That is SentinelOne, Microsoft, and CrowdStrike. As you understand, we have been winning very large deals against Microsoft, but when it comes to very large deals against CrowdStrike. But when it comes to Microsoft, it's a different problem altogether that we have to, or different challenge altogether that we have to navigate through in order to position ourselves competitively in these accounts and to counter the points that Microsoft 365 or Microsoft may be making. Not to your surprise, if you look at it, Microsoft is mostly playing at a CFO level, where they appeal to the CFO saying that you already have access to Microsoft Defender for endpoints and different set of capabilities. Why do you need a third party? Why don't you just use our product? And that should give you what you're looking for. If you look at it, whenever you are having these conversations with security leaders, they are never saying that Microsoft is the best product that we have had and we are loving it. They always say that it is being pushed down to us from the top, that if we have entitlement for it, why not use it? It is never pushed down from the bottom, or it is never pushed down from the top saying that they are the best product, use it. It is always a financial decision, then a security decision when an organization is being pushed to use Microsoft 365 Defender suite of capabilities. That is the reason. Okay, just the agenda slide, we can come to that later. And that is the reason a feature by feature comparison in order to position yourself effectively will not be the best way to stand competitively against what Microsoft offers. Because Microsoft is very broad when it comes to the kind of products that they're offering in the market. And while an organization, the CIO organization, is buying productivity tools, is buying operating system capabilities, is buying compliance capabilities, is buying collaboration capabilities, they are getting security for free. They are getting security capabilities for free. And that is the reason, even if it is not cutting the mark, they feel that let us might as well use it. Why not? But that is the reason why we need to go beyond that, and we need to talk about the value propositions. Those who may not be familiar with the value proposition that I'm talking about, you being our partners, you can get in touch with our regional sales manager or your sales point of contact in SentinelOne, who can help you with business value calculation in the accounts where CFO is pushing you to use Microsoft. And with the given inputs from the organization, from the prospects, we can come up with the metrics about what kind of money, what kind of dollars you would be saving if you go ahead with Microsoft, or if you go ahead with SentinelOne in contrast to Microsoft on the operational aspects, on the risk management aspect, and so many other things. So whenever it comes to Microsoft, do not resort to feature by feature comparison, but rather look at the broader value. And it should start with the business assessment, in the sense, what is the business is looking to do, how the environment, look at the solution, how the environment would be improved with the technology, and then look at the benefits and cost associated with it. What are the benefits of SentinelOne solution over Microsoft solution? What are the costs associated with it? And when we talk about cost, do not only look at the upfront licensing cost, but look at the total cost of ownership and put things into financial metrics and convert that into value. So, cutting all the things that I just mentioned, I would only say in very simple words is that your business understands only three things. And when we are appealing to the CFO, because the CFO or the CIO are the ones who are making these decisions of using Microsoft because they already have it, they already have the entitlement for this one, you have to talk in the same language as them. And what do they understand? They only understand three things: cost, revenue, and risk. As we all understand that security does not add to the revenue of an organization. Yes, in some cases they do, but let's not get there. In these cases, now out of cost, revenue, and risk, you should focus on cost and risk and put the value proposition in terms of cost and risk and show it to the CFO and get a better chance of getting heard and get a better chance of driving further. Now, let's look at the agenda, because so that you know the entire topics that we would be this entire set of topics that we would be covering in the next I believe we are left with 50 minutes. We will talk about Microsoft recent announcements and what exactly it is and how it is transformational, or how it is just another announcement which does not make a lot of sense, licensing mapping examples, and competing against Microsoft in EPP and EDR space. So we'll talk about all these things. So let's look at the broader area, that why Singularity XDR. And those who may not be familiar with the word Singularity, SentinelOne is the name of the company, and the platform that we have, that we sell in the market, it is called Singularity XDR. So now if you look at this chart, you would see on the right hand side or on the left hand side as well, you would see we are only talking about the value proposition. So on the right hand side, if you talk about value propositions, you would see increased deployment cost. On an average, it takes an organization more than 8 to 16 months to complete their Microsoft security product rollout. And why is that so? Because there is a lot of complexity and lots of management consoles, one for detection and response, one for pushing the policies, one for modern endpoint solution, one for legacy operating systems, and so many other intricacies that you have to take care of. And because of that, it increases the time to value and deployment cost and deployment time. I'll give you I'll give you some insights from my conversation with Microsoft customers when I was with Gartner. So until April 2022, I was with Gartner, and I used to get a lot of calls from Gartner clients. And a lot of these customers who are using Microsoft, the most common complaint would be that it's been more than 6 months, we deployed Microsoft, but we are not seeing any alerts coming up on the console. And that makes us wonder whether we configured the product correctly or not. Then those customers who had just purchased or just started rolling out Microsoft, they wonder whether or how to go about the deployment, because they find it very complex. And they very commonly engage with a third party to go about Microsoft security product rollout. So now look at the complexity, the cost, and the time to value that has increased significantly in case of Microsoft 365 or something. Now let's look at it, or something which comes to you for free. It is something that is coming to you for free, but in order to make use of this free product, you have to pay a lot. In order to configure this free product, you have to shell a lot of money, get in touch with a third party, and add to the spend. Then, as this capability can only automate, or there is limited number of automation it has more reliance on human analysts to go about security operations center. And in the current times of skill shortage in cybersecurity industry, you will have tougher time to recruit cybersecurity professionals who can help you deliver value from the stack that you have just rolled out. And if, when I say if, and I'm just giving you a benefit of doubt, if MITRE attack results are credible, and they are very much, they are the golden standard in the market and the most accurate representation of the effectiveness of the product in the market. If you look at the results, you would see that Microsoft has not been able to deliver great results in these evaluations. And so if I talk about the latest MITRE evaluation, out of 109 attacks, they were only able to detect 98 attacks, whereas SentinelOne detected 108 out of 109 attacks. So that is the difference. Also, out of these 98 attacks, Microsoft evaluation was stopped 13 number of times, 13 number of times to make the configuration changes so that they can detect a particular attack. So in a real life situation, do you really think that the attacker will give you time to make configuration changes so that we can go and detect that attack? So in a real life situation, that is not going to happen. And that is the reason why you have increased cyber risk for the free product that you have. And you buy cybersecurity product to get secured. And if the security product that you are buying is not giving you the security, then it is a wasted investment for your organization. So at SentinelOne, we give 100% cybersecurity, as I mentioned, 108 out of 109 detection, deep relationship with customers in SentinelOne, top down from leadership to support, one security platform, one single consolidated console, one single agent, best in class detection, best in class automation, patented one click remediation, one click rollback. All the changes that the attacker makes on a system, it can be reversed in one single click. The files that are encrypted by the attacker, and if you have the Windows shadow copy enabled, service enabled, you can roll back those changes and still provide granular enterprise grade multi-tenant and role-based access control so that you can have a multi-hierarchy in your organization, in a federated organization, give autonomy to each and every individual entity, still maintain that one single view of all the entities put all together. And it gives you better business outcomes, reduced cyber risk, lower total cost of ownership, and lower dependency on human analysts. So moving on, talking about Microsoft announcements. They made a few announcements. So let's see, because of the announcement, you may be asked about, what does this announcement mean? And it looks like they are doing something really great. So if you have seen the Microsoft Security Copilot video, in the demo itself, it came up with something called Windows 9. And Microsoft acknowledged that AI generated content can make mistakes. So do verify before you use it and make sure it's accurate. So I would only like to ask you, is the security operations center's job is to correct the AI or secure the organization? Because when we are in security, or when your organizations are doing security, when your client organizations are doing security, they should focus on securing their organization and not to secure or not to make the AI better. How would you know whether the information generated by AI is correct or not? So now, rather than fixing the alert, you will first of all make sure whether the investigation results that are received from AI is correct or not. And what is Microsoft doing? It is adding one more tool, one more product, one more console, and one more license. It is not that on the same product they are adding one more feature. It is another additional tool, another additional product, additional console, and additional license. And you are left confusing what is XDR, what is SIM, what is Copilot, and that becomes a challenge for you. And in a landscape where SOC analysts face alert fatigue, it is not very clear how it would reduce mean time to detect an incident and mean time to respond to an incident. And it only adds more data and more complexity. And with SentinelOne, we provide one platform, one pane of glass, from detection to investigation to response, be it EDR, be it XDR, we have it on one single platform. So let's look at the 5 big things that they announced. They announced Security Copilot, as I already mentioned. It's another product, another license, one more console, and it does not have response action. It only does investigation and reporting for you. So it is not going to be a single pane of glass for you where you can possibly do everything. Then when it comes to Microsoft Defender for threat intelligence, they are adding this at an additional cost. SentinelOne also generates actionable threat intelligence, and it is available via Vigilance Threat Center, and we have blocks. So even though it's not a separate product, we have threat intelligence embedded in the product that makes it easier. Then they just announced general availability of their CSPM capabilities through Microsoft Azure, and SentinelOne offers best of breed CSPM plus cloud workload protection capability, which via our partnership of Wiz plus cloud workload protection that we already have. Sensitive data exposure is something that we are doing, or we will be doing with our integration with Wiz. And Microsoft announced that now they are expanding their professional services portfolio, and we already have a very large network of 140 plus global incident response and MDR partners, and we offer these capabilities to the IR partner. So we are taking a much more scalable approach towards incident response as well. So in all, there is nothing new that Microsoft announced, and it's not that it is going to solve all the challenges that you had with Microsoft set of products. Now, talking about the challenge, talking about the myth, it is very commonly believed that when you buy Microsoft, you get everything. With one E5 license, you get everything. But you may find it shocking, or you may find it, or if you have already dissected Microsoft, that is not true. With E5, which is Microsoft 365 E5, you get things on this left-hand side. I hope you're able to see my cursor, otherwise I can use the pen. I believe this is better. Yeah. With M365 E5, you will only get these set of products. And when I say only, with 365 E5, you will get Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, which is your CASB solution, Microsoft Defender for Endpoints, which is your Plan 1, Plan 2, E5, M365 E5, Identity Security Solution, which is your Azure AD Security, and Email Security. Now, you may be wondering, Prateek, where is cloud security in this case? And that is the point. With M365 E5, you will not get cloud security. You're only getting workspace security. So broadly, the security can be broken into two types of, the security can be broken into two types of target devices. One is workspace and one is workload. Workspace means the systems and the space that is used by the employees, the end user employees for daily workload. And workload means your cloud workload where your applications are running. So M365 Defender only takes care of your endpoints, cloud apps. Do not get confused by cloud apps here. By cloud apps, it will only be able to secure your SaaS applications, software as a service applications, and then you have identity. So if you want to secure your cloud workloads, and yes, let me take this opportunity to say, when I say cloud workload, I do not only mean cloud. I mean workload that may be sitting across physical servers or your on-premises servers, those racks that you see commonly in a data center, or a virtualized environment, or a cloud environment, or a container environment. So if you want to secure your data center systems, whether it's physical, virtual, cloud, or container, you need to have one more license, which is Microsoft Defender for Cloud license, and which is not included with E5. So if your customer says that everything is included in Microsoft, then please tell them it is not included. For cloud, you have to buy a separate license. And then even the licensing model is very different. On this side, you buy the license per user. And on this side, you buy, or they offer you a consumption-based license on hourly basis, depending on different workload. So even the licensing model is different. And now you would need someone to understand the licensing model and keep a track of the licensing consumption as well. And we are only adding more to the complexity. Let's talk further. You may think it's just two different licensing model, but it's not just two different licensing. It's not just two different licensing, but different consoles as well. This is a different console. This is a different console. And this is also a different console. And what is Microsoft Sentinel is that it is not, it is another console, another product. And this is what Microsoft is positioning as XDR. Oh, I'm sorry, XDR. Pardon my handwriting using my mouse. As you can understand, it may not be the best. So with Microsoft 365 Defender, you cannot ingest logs from your Cisco firewall. You cannot ingest logs coming from your Fortinet. You cannot ingest logs coming from your Proofpoint. You cannot ingest logs coming from your Okta. M365 can only ingest logs coming from Microsoft set of products. Microsoft Defender for Cloud can only ingest logs coming from Microsoft Defender for Cloud products. In order to ingest third-party logs, in order to make a Microsoft solution equivalent to an XDR solution, which can integrate with your existing set of solutions, you need Microsoft Sentinel license as well, where your Microsoft data and third-party data can be ingested into one single platform. And now we are looking at just three consoles, and I shouldn't be saying three, but we are looking at three consoles right now. And that's not it. It's not just three consoles. We will definitely talk about it later in the slides. It's more than that. You see three consoles here for XDR, and later on, if we go down further, you will see the number of consoles only increasing. And let me kill the suspense a little. It will at least be 6 consoles by the end of this presentation. You will see how many different consoles would be required for XDR. And let's look at the cost. Let's look at one more aspect of cost. This is something you may get for free with E5, but the data collected by Microsoft set of sensors, okay, let me write free, but the data collected by these Microsoft set of sensors lives in the M365 data lake only. So this is the data lake that it is living in. This is the data lake that they are living in. Now, in order to get a full visibility of XDR, this data needs to be imported or exported to another data lake, which is the Microsoft Sentinel data lake. So you will have to move the data from here. You'll have to move the data from here and from third parties. And then it will become, or it will go into another data lake where you have data coming from Microsoft set of products and even the third-party set of products. So now look at the additional cost that you are paying. You are storing the data here, you are paying for it. You are storing the data here, you are paying for it. And now when you're moving the data and storing it here, you will again have to pay for this data storage. So the same data is being stored in multiple places, and you will have to pay the cost for it so that you can achieve XDR, which is so contrary to what XDR promised when XDR concept was introduced. XDR was introduced to bring simplicity, but where is simplicity? Where is convenience? Where is operational ease here? Where is cost optimization? Where is SOC optimization? Nothing. And SentinelOne, for that matter, just to give you a contrast here, SentinelOne has, across these products, they have one single data lake. So this data also comes here, this data also comes here, and this data also comes here. I'm just drawing a comparison. I'm not saying that exactly it happens, but it has one single data lake, whether it's SentinelOne sensors, whether it is non-SentinelOne sources, whether it is ingesting logs from SIM, or whether it is ingesting logs from syslog server. And that is how, and managed using one single console, be it cloud, be it endpoints, be it identity, or be it anything that we are offering on the table. So that is the kind of difference that you have. If you have questions around this, feel free to add to the Q&A session. Perhaps I can just quickly check. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer that as we go along rather than waiting it for the last moment. So let me just quickly check if you have any questions coming up in here. Please feel free to ask questions. I have not seen any questions, so I'll go back to the presentation, but do ask your questions here. Then going further, now in case you want to get a better understanding of the licensing, although I was trying to do a fair job at explaining, but it is not as easy, and a lot of your customers may already be talking about that, how difficult it is to navigate through the licensing. So I would suggest that you look at m365maps.com, which ironically is a private application hosted by one of the Microsoft employees, Aaron Dinaj. I hope I'm doing a justice when it comes to pronouncing his name. And there you can see things in a much more easier manner to understand the difference. So you will be able to see this kind of Venn diagram, what all products are included, what all licensing it requires, and so many other things, which makes it a lot more easier for you to consume and navigate through the complexity of Microsoft 365 licensing. So this is something that could be really useful to you. Talking about the complexity, I just wanted to make sure that you are still able to see my screen. If someone could confirm, because I switched the screen once or twice, so just want to make sure that you're able to see my screen fine.
Fine, yes.
Yeah, great. Not talking about the complexity, yeah, right? We were talking about so many different consoles. So this screenshot that you see is taken from one of the blogs that Microsoft posted a couple of months ago. And look at the title. I have not altered anything in this particular deck. Which dashboard should I use to start investigating alerts when both Microsoft Defender for Cloud and Microsoft Defender for Endpoints are enabled? Now look at the complexity. It starts with here. Does your organization use Microsoft Sentinel or a third-party SIM? Then do the investigation on SIM. If not, if you are doing endpoints and other aspects, then start your alert investigation with Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And if not, then do it here. And if you, I will also share the link of this blog post also, which is on their official Microsoft.com blog post. And a lot of alert duplication also happens. Microsoft Defender for Cloud alerts would be published in Microsoft Defender for Endpoints console also. Because when it comes to EDR, in your cloud workload, it is enablement of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint capabilities in these workloads, and they report to the Microsoft Defender for Cloud console and both Microsoft Defender for Endpoints console. So there is so much of duplication of alerts. And when we talk about Security Operations Center, the last thing that we want more of is alerts. Yes, what we want is incidents, cybersecurity incidents, so that we can go ahead and fix it. But the last thing that we want is more alerts so that it can overwhelm us. But with this, it is only getting complex, and it is only duplicating the alerts, and you have no idea what to do about or where to find the right source and single source of alerts. Let me add one more thing. What do you think if you see an alert on Microsoft Defender for Cloud? Where would you be able, or which console would you be able to perform the investigation on? Do you think if I see an alert on Microsoft Defender for Cloud, let me repeat myself, if I see an alert on Microsoft Defender for Cloud, can I do the investigation of that alert on Microsoft Defender for Cloud? No. If I see an alert on Microsoft Defender for Cloud, the investigation of that alert will happen on Microsoft Defender for Endpoints console. So now you see how many consoles you will have to switch again and again in order to do the detection or in order to investigate the detection. These kind of complexities, an organization who is considering Microsoft is not aware of, because the decision is taken by the CFO and not taken by the security team. And when they look at these things, they say that it's very complex. So it is our job as the company spokesperson, as who are the experts in the market, to educate them on the complexity that they have, because they would not want to waste time. They would not want to waste time in deploying the product and then saying that it's a failed project. So that is the reason it's our job to educate them. Any questions, by the way? Please ask me questions, then only it will be fun and we can make it as interactive as possible. Then let's look at MITRE ATT&CK results, which is the gold standard. If any one of you is not familiar with MITRE ATT&CK results, please ask me so that we can spend 30 seconds on it. Else I would assume that you know about it, and I will go ahead. And your time starts now. So do let me know if you want to know what exactly is MITRE if you're not familiar with it. Now let's compare the results of SentinelOne versus Microsoft. What you see as analytic coverage, it is the detection of an attack without needing any kind of manual intervention. SentinelOne detected 108 out of 109 attacks, which is the highest across the vectors, across the vendors. Microsoft detected 98 out of 109 attacks. SentinelOne had 0 delayed detection, so did Microsoft. But when it comes to configuration change, the test, when it comes to pausing or stopping the test and making configuration changes, Microsoft had to stop the test 13 number of times, 13 number of times, to make the changes in order to reach 98 out of 109 detection. Whereas SentinelOne only stopped the test twice in order to reach 108 out of 109 detection. In a real life situation, your attacker will not give you time to stop the detection and say that, okay, why don't you first make your things better and then I will attack you. The attacker works in real time. And SentinelOne arrived to a detection rate of 108 out of 109 using just one single product, whereas Microsoft used 4 different products, right from email to cloud apps to identity to endpoint, in order to arrive at a subpar result of 98,109. So now you have the results for yourself, and some qualification. The first score, higher the better. The second one, lower the better. The configuration changes, lower the better, and the number of products used, lower the better. And if you look at the way they perform across each other, this particular graphic is self-explanatory, that they had 24 not so good things in their evaluation. And as I was talking about, uh, 4 products, if you remember, 4 products I was talking about here, you can see this is a screenshot from MITRE attack framework testing. You will see Microsoft Defender for endpoints, identity, cloud apps, and Office. So that is the difference in the 2 approaches. So I'll quickly check if I have any questions coming up on the Q&A window. Just give me a second. Great. We can move on. Now let's look at how can you position SentinelOne in Microsoft environments, and if you do a proposal to them in a side-by-side scenario. So Microsoft has a lot of capabilities. We are not saying that we can replace the entire Microsoft stack. It will be a big lie if we say that, and it is not even possible because they have a long suite of products. But we can help an organization. We can help an organization in implementing a best of breed approach. And that best of breed approach is, you can use IDAM, privilege identity management, conditional access from Microsoft E3 suite. You don't even have to upgrade yourself to E5, just use E3. Then for risk-based conditional access, identity security posture management, identity threat protection, what their Azure AD protection offers, you can get it through SentinelOne Ranger AD Protect. Then when it comes to unified enterprise management, which is your the likes of your mobile device management, the likes of your Intune is delivered using M365 E3 that you would basically have. For CASB, you can use SentinelOne's CASB security partner, the likes of Netscope. For EDR, you have Singularity EDR, and for threat and vulnerability management, you have SentinelOne Singularity Ranger Insights, and you will be able to use or deliver vulnerability management also using the same agent. And for email security, you can choose one of our SentinelOne partners like Proofpoint, Mimecast, and many more. So that is how you can propose a best of breed approach to your client, to your prospects, about getting the best of both the worlds in a very integrated manner, in a very valuable and useful manner, effective manner. And if your organization, if your client organization prospect comes back to you saying that everybody is talking about security vendor consolidation, everybody in the industry is talking about security vendor consolidation, and I feel with Microsoft I will be able to achieve security vendor consolidation, why should I go ahead with best of breed? Then ask your prospect, are you looking at security vendor consolidation, or are you looking at security technology consolidation? What is security technology consolidation? Let's not talk about it. So let's talk about, why are we looking for consolidation? We are looking for consolidation because we are looking at operational efficiency, operational effectiveness, and we are looking at getting better when it comes to detecting a threat and increasing the level of security. With one single vendor, with a tick in the box approach, you will not be able to get all 3 of these. But with security technology approach or security technology consolidation, the keyword is security technology consolidation. You can achieve best of breed approach, you can achieve operational effectiveness, you can achieve operational efficiency, you can increase the you can increase the security operations or security level in your organization, and you can have one single workflow across your security technologies. So ask them what are they looking for and what are the objectives when they say that they are looking for security vendor consolidation, because they are not looking for security vendor consolidation, they are looking for security technology consolidation, but it is so often confused that they are not getting the right they are not getting the right advice, and you be the one to give the right advice to them. Then another proposed scenario is where you can look at a best of breed approach along with Microsoft, is that you can ask them to use CASB from their own Microsoft Defender for cloud apps if they are not willing to look for a third party. And for email security, they can use their Microsoft Defender for Office P2, which are add-on to E3 license, which will save them a lot of cost from moving from E3 to E5 to buying these individual add-on applications. And then use SentinelOne Ranger AD Protect for all identity security, use EDR, Singularity EDR, and Ranger Insights for vulnerability management. And when I talk about EDR, just to put that into simpler terms, is that when I say Singularity EDR, I mean SentinelOne Singularity Complete SKU. Singularity Complete package is something that can give them endpoint protection, detection, and response. Any questions before we move ahead? And if you could tell me how much time do we have left with, so that I can plan the next part of the presentation. If someone could be a timekeeper here.
You have 40 minutes.
I have 40 minutes. Got it. Great. So now talking about the rabbit hole, we are talking about the rabbit hole in the sense how deep we are getting into, or what kind of things are there in EPP and EDR that we are not aware of. So let's look deeper into it. As I was talking about, that with Microsoft Defender for endpoints, or with M365 E5 Defender, you get Microsoft Defender for endpoints. Now let's look at the complexity and double click on this. So you would see here, now depending on what size of the organization you are, the licensing would also differ. So you would see, if you are less than 300 number of seats, you have Microsoft Defender for Business license, and this you will get a lot of the capabilities delivered to you without having to worry about what tier it is. And it is specifically designed for small and medium-sized organizations. Then for organizations beyond 300, you have Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Plan A and for Plan 2. And with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Plan 1, you only get very basics of the capability. You would see you're only getting centralized management, which is their Microsoft Endpoint Manager, which is a UI built on top of SCCM plus Intune, and then you get some basic attack surface reduction rules, next generation protection, which is your behavioral artificial intelligence, cross-platform support, and partner APIs. So only when you upgrade to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Plan 2, or only when you upgrade from E3 to E5, you will get access to all the capabilities that you really need when it comes to an endpoint security solution. So from centralized management to threat and vulnerability management, behavioral AI, and also threat hunting. You would also commonly hear from your prospects saying that Microsoft offers 6 months of data retention. Six. They often say that it is so useful that Microsoft offers us 6 months of data retention. But that is not true. Yes, they offer 6 months of data retention, but that 6 months of data retention is only for incident level data. I'll clarify what do I mean by that. So in order to perform threat hunting, let's say that you want to perform threat hunting, you can only perform threat hunting on 30 days of data that is stored by Microsoft. That means the raw data retention coming from the endpoints is only stored for 30 days and not for 6 months. The 6 months data we are talking about is the incident related data. So that means an alert is triggered and you have investigated that alert, then you uh, closed that alert by taking appropriate response, and now that the data that is being used in the investigation will be used for or will be stored for 6 months, but it is not the raw data that will be stored for 6 months. In SentinelOne, we store the incident related data that Microsoft is storing for 6 months. We are storing it for 1 year. By default, we offer 14 days of data retention, and it can be expanded up to 3 years of data retention as well, as per the requirement of a customer, which will bring the data retention to a higher level. If I talk about, now that we're talking about data retention, by the way, any questions on the data retention part when I explained 1 month and 6 months model that Microsoft offers, incident related data and raw data? If you have questions, please do type it on the chat or the questions window. Then, talking about data retention, you would also see a lot of disparity in terms of data retention. So for that, let me go back a slide. I believe this is a good slide to talk about that. So right now, there is no parity or uniformity in terms of storing the data for a uniform period. So you will see Microsoft Defender for endpoint data getting stored for uh, 30 days, whereas identity data may be getting stored for longer period. Cloud apps data may be getting stored for longer period, and email data may be getting stored for a different period. So there is no one single data retention period, because of which when you are investigating an attack, you will have a lot of missing data points and investigation points, which will make the investigation difficult for you, because in some cases it is 30 days, in some cases it is 2 months, in some cases it is 6 months, in some cases it is 1 year. And for an effective security operations center, you need to have consistent data retention so that there are no missing points, and you know that when I'm investigating an incident which came up on an email, I will be able to backtrack the entire history of how it came, what did the attachment do, uh, how did it establish command and control center, and what other things were downloaded, what changes were made on the system, and so many other things. And so that you can later look at those things for investigation and reverting those changes at the same time. So that is the reason this uniform data retention is also very important, which Microsoft is not offering by default with Microsoft 365 E5 or E3 licensing for that matter. Let's move ahead. Sorry, struggling with the cursor. And we already spoke about the different licensing model and the different capabilities here, and and the consoles. So let's dive further and see what exactly it is. You commonly hear about that E5 includes everything, right? You say that E5 includes everything. Your customers say that your E5 includes everything. But now, can you see that it does not include everything? There are basics that are included with the E5 capabilities, and then there are add-ons that you can purchase to make it comprehensive. I'll give you two examples. One is threat and vulnerability management. Let me bring back my laser pointer or highlighter. Let's see, highlighter should be good. Okay, this is good. You would see Defender vulnerability management basic capabilities are included. Give me a second. You can see that Microsoft Defender vulnerability management core capabilities are included in Plan 2. But if you want to make it more comprehensive, you have to buy an add-on on top of it. Defender vulnerability management add-on, which will make it more comprehensive. So if your customer was assuming that everything is included, then it is not. There is a lot of intricacies and details that you have to see, that you have to get into to understand that it's not all included, and there are other things that you need to make it comprehensive. One example I would say is that Microsoft is like they give you a very easy entry point that you start using our solution, and once you're hooked to this solution, once you have invested so much of time into using this solution, you have no choice but to pay higher the next time when they come for renewal. And they may give you one product for free right now, and now that you have developed workflows around it, next year they may come to you saying that no, this is not free anymore, and now you need to pay for it. And then the free product that you thought is free, and you invested so much of time and effort into building that into your workflow, is now only going to cost you more, because everything is adding to the cost of goods sold by Microsoft. And now they are looking at monetizing different capabilities, which was initially included everything in one single bundle or one single package. I promised you two examples, and I've only given you one example. The other example would be Microsoft Defender for Cloud Security Posture Management. You get the basic capabilities of CSPM by default for free in Microsoft Defender for Cloud and Microsoft Defender for Server Plan 1. And if you have to go further, you'll have to go and buy Microsoft, I'm not able to recall the exact licensing name, but Microsoft Defender CSPM Advanced, so that you get advanced capabilities of CSPM. So if your customer thinks it's all included, it is not. There are a lot of, or it's all free, it is not. There are a lot of ifs and buts that they need to navigate through in order to understand what is that they need. And it's not an easy licensing model for you to understand. And that is where we can come in and help them with the analysis of it. Just give me give me 15 seconds. I'll just take a sip of water, and then we'll move on to the next part of it. Great. We're ready to move ahead. Now let's look at some more details. You would think that Microsoft Microsoft security products should be very good at protecting Microsoft operating systems that they themselves produce. But if you look at this Microsoft operating system coverage, you would see that Microsoft, or okay, let's go back to the mindset. Microsoft is of the mindset that they are only looking at a golden vision. They are only looking at a golden vision where everything is on modern operating system, everything is on cloud, and whatever is not on the modern operating systems, it is not something that we are bothered about. So because of that, all your Microsoft Defender for Endpoint products that you see will not cover and give the same kind of, let me use my highlighter, will not give you the same kind of capabilities for 7 Windows 8.1. They are only giving you full feature parity for Windows 10 and beyond. So let's draw a line here. We are only talking about endpoints right now. So they have no coverage for their next generation antivirus, no coverage. No coverage for 8.1, no coverage for Windows 7.1. Okay, you're not providing me good enough security coverage. At least give me same management console. No, you have no management console, or not the same management console for 7 and 8.1. You need to have system center for endpoint protection agent to be installed, and it would be managed using by SCCM for 7 and 8.1. Then when it comes to block at first sight, even in Windows 10, they provide it only 1803 plus edition. And cloud delivered protection, tamper protection is not even available on 7 and 8.1. In a lot of the organizations, banking, financial, healthcare, education, you would see that there are still a lot of systems that are running on Windows 7, Windows 8.1, Windows XP. I know it's very hard to believe, but talk to your clients and you would see that they're still using some systems on Windows 7 and 8.1. Don't let those legacy systems be the low-hanging fruit and the entry vectors for your attackers. And if you are using Microsoft, you will not be able to adequately protect those legacy systems. In fact, I was talking to one of the clients in the European region as well, where the customer thought to implement Microsoft and SentinelOne in a hybrid manner. And they said, we will do the analysis and see how many systems can be adequately covered by Microsoft and how many systems can be covered by Microsoft, and how many can be covered by SentinelOne. So they initially predicted that they will be able to secure 20% of the systems using SentinelOne and 80% of the systems using Microsoft. They initially predicted, but when they did the assessment, the figures got reversed, and SentinelOne was then later rolled out to 80% of the systems because of the feature parity set, and Microsoft was only used in 20% of the systems. So it tells you that in order to get the right level of protection, in order to do mass level rollout, in order to not leave any weak link in your network, in your organization, you have to look at feature parity set across the operating systems, be it legacy or modern operating system. And the same is the problem with your server operating systems. They support 2016 and above, and the older operating systems are not adequately support, and they only offer a small feature set. And for Mac and Linux and Android operating system as well, you would see that they do not support management, they do not give you the same level of security capabilities. So why would you want to have invariability in your security posture, in your security wall, because the attackers are only looking for one single weak or one single vulnerable system to launch the attack. And this is something you can also download from the link that we have shared in the slide deck, and you will be able to see that comparison. And now just imagine when you are looking at the rollout of the agents is also very difficult, because now you will have to look at so many systems, so many different agents, different management consoles for different operating systems, which is only increasing the complexity of it. Moving on. Now let's look at this. So now let's open the Microsoft management cake layers. You remember I had made a statement that right now we are looking at 3 consoles, and by the end of it, we may be counting 6 consoles. And now this is the slide that will help you with that. Now let's look at for what system I would need what. Let's start with Windows 10. For Windows 10, I have an agent of Microsoft Defender for Endpoints, pretty straightforward, for it to collect the telemetry. But in order to manage it, I need Intune plus Azure AD registration. Then I also need system configuration, system center configuration management for co-management. And then these are the licenses that are required: E5, Microsoft Intune, which is included as a part of E5, Azure AD, and Microsoft System Center configuration, that is also included. So for Windows 10, it may be a little more straightforward. But now let's look at 7 and Windows 7 and 8.1. First of all, you need a separate agent altogether, which is called Microsoft Monitoring Agent. Then you need another agent, which is called Microsoft SEP, System Center for Endpoint Protection. In order to manage it, you need SCCM, and you also need this. That is how now you have so many consoles. So Defender console, now you have SCCM console, and you need Microsoft Monitoring Agent, and you need SCEP agent. The number of agents are increasing, the number of consoles are increasing. Now let's look at Linux servers. First of all, in order to cover the Linux servers, you need 3 different agents. And they have recently consolidated 2 agents into one. Otherwise, it could have been 4 different agents. So the very first thing, to cover your non-Azure systems, to cover your physical servers, to cover any non-Azure system and physical server, you need Azure Arc. You first need to install the Azure Arc agent in these systems, which will connect these server operating systems and systems to the management console. And then you need to install Azure Monitoring Agent, which will collect the telemetry from the system and operating system and send it to the management console of Microsoft Defender for Endpoints. Then you would also need Microsoft Defender for Endpoint to be enabled so that it can do threat detection and response. And previously, you also needed one more agent called Log Analytics Agent, which has been now consolidated with Azure Monitoring Agent. Otherwise, it would need 4 different agents in Linux server. And when I say Linux, not just Linux, I'll repeat myself. It is physical servers and any non-Azure server, AWS, GCP, Ali Cloud, whatever you are using, they will all need 3 different agents to be installed. Now that is on the system side. What about the management? You need a third-party management layer for it. Could be Puppet, could be Chef, could be Ansible, or you can bring your own management console and management layer to it. It is not being managed using the same Microsoft Endpoint Manager, or it is not being managed by the same Microsoft Defender for Cloud Console, you need a different manager and you need a different licensing. You remember what we spoke about in the very beginning, that Microsoft Defender for server agents and licenses are not included, and you need to have you need to buy Microsoft Defender for server licensing or Microsoft Defender for cloud, and then you need to enable Microsoft Defender for servers underneath and use the Azure credits for it. Are you now seeing the number of agents and consoles only increasing? Now this console has also been added. You had your Microsoft Defender for Cloud Console, you had Microsoft Sentinel Console, then you had Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Console, or you can call it M365 Defender Console. Then you already had Microsoft Endpoint Manager Console, 4 console. Now you have a third-party console as well that gets added to the list when you are maintaining this kind of a hybrid environment. 5 consoles so far. And then for Android, iOS, and Mac OS also you would, and yeah, let's look at Mac and then we'll go further. And for Mac iOS, then you will need Jamf console, Jamf, for management and pushing the policies. It can be managed using Intune, the modern operating system, but modern system management. But some of the capabilities can also be derived or can also be delivered from Jamf. So we are now looking at 6 consoles. 6 consoles where you say that you were, what is that you initially wanted to do? I wanted to do security vendor consolidation. For what reason? Because I could achieve operational efficiency. And now with 6 consoles and so many different agents, please tell me how easily you would be able to achieve operational effectiveness or operational efficiency. It is only overwhelming and complex and retrofitting things on top of each other to make it a solution, whereas it's not one single solution. So that is the level of the complexity and the cake layers that we're talking about, which is only making things difficult for the organization, and you are paying a big cost for something that is coming for free. And it is also a very common reputation of Microsoft in the market that Microsoft may have good products, but they leave the management of those products to the customer, and it's not easy to use them. And same is what we are seeing right now. So do talk to your prospects, do talk to your clients who are talking about Microsoft coming for free. Talk about the operational complexity. Look at the translation of operational complexity to operational cost, and how big is that operational cost, which is leading to higher total cost of ownership and lower efficiency when it comes to threat detection and response. Any questions before we move ahead? Any questions? Great. I'll move ahead. Okay, where's the next slide? So as we were talking about the consoles, you can see when it comes to management also, you need different kind of management consoles. For cloud systems or modern operating systems, you can use Microsoft Endpoint Manager. For Windows and on-premises systems, you can use SCCM, Microsoft SCCM. And for threat detection and response, you can use the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Console. So where is one single console and where is operational ease and operational efficiency here? So, when you are looking for a single pane of glass, you thought that will make my life easier. But rather than a single pane of glass, an organization which wanted to save money or wanted to use Microsoft, rather than getting a single pane of glass, they ended up having one single glass of pane, where there are so many consoles and something lies in this console, management lies in this console, 7 and 8.1 management lies in another console, detection and response can occur in this one, can occur on 365 Defender, and so many ways to navigate through, which is only increasing the complexity. So that's the reason I say multi-what. You commonly talk about multi-tenancy, but multi-what? There is nothing available with. It's not available with it's not available with Microsoft. So there is no native multi-tenancy capabilities. So for a large organization who may want to create multiple tenants in the subscription and still maintain a high level view and look at uh, and look at still maintain a high level view and give autonomy to each and every entity, it will not be able to give you that view. So there is no native multi-tenancy capabilities by default. And if you go about doing that, there is a lot of complexity and configuration that you will have to do, which we will see in the next slide. There is no native ability to segregate data using different retention period. As I was mentioning, every product has a different data retention. No native capability for multi-tenant and one single view, and no out-of-box solution for MSSPs unless you buy Microsoft Skylight. And let's imagine now these three companies having a hybrid or running a hybrid environment. They want to merge, or they got acquired by each other. So now each and every organization will have to go through this kind of complex configuration in order to manage, or in order to achieve one single pane of glass. And if it appears confusing and overwhelming from the looks of it, now just imagine when you have to execute this kind of architecture for each and every entity to make sure that we maintain one single pane of glass or one single view, high level view of all the entities. This is something that you have to do in each and every entity, and each and every entity getting merged together. So that is the level of complexity. And this is a reference diagram and architecture that we have got from their website itself. And similarly, and even if when you achieve that kind of multi-tenancy, there are limits to doing the query and APIs which can halt your investigation from 15 to 20 minutes while you're doing the investigation, because you may run out of certain limits, which is also very counterproductive and can cause hindrance to your threat detection programs. So summary on Microsoft Defender for endpoints: it's operationally complex. If after so much of talking, if I'm still not able to prove the operational complexity part, then I would say I have not been able to do my job well. Because if you look at the number of people that would be required, the number of consoles you will have to navigate through, for different purposes you have different console, it is very operationally complex and fragmented. This will lead to higher operational cost with more operational complexity. This will have higher dependency on SOC analysts, and given the skill shortage that we all are facing, it will only be more difficult to it will only be more difficult uh, it will only be more difficult to hire more analysts and go about running your security operations center. Increased risk exposure because of things falling between the cracks, uh, and not having uniform deployment across your state hybrid environment, and not being able to detect the attacks or not running the right configuration, and higher total cost of ownership because of the dependency on because of the dependency on SOC analysts, because of the dependency, or because of the operational complexity. All of these would lead to higher total cost of ownership, even when your Microsoft 365 E5 licensing included Microsoft Defender for endpoints for free. The free that you're talking about is not something free anymore when you have to invest so much. And you may find it interesting. A lot of the organizations who thought that they would implement, or they have implemented Microsoft Defender for endpoints. As I was mentioning, it took more than 8 to 14 months before they could completely operationalize the product. And after so much of so much of time and effort invested in it, they find it difficult to replace for this reason, that how can I go back to my management and say that after so much of effort and time, we failed in this project and we need to move to something else and to make it better. It is because of the incumbency and so much of time and effort already invested in it. Sometimes they accept their mistake and they have to live with their mistake, and they do not move away. But that is where it is our job to educate them about it, and give them a reflection of the kind of complexity and free is not free message with this one. So on this note, I am done with my slide deck and what all I wanted to share with you. There is a good likelihood that I may have missed a point or two, or may not have answered one or two questions that you may have in your mind. So feel free to please ask the questions, and we can spend the last 9 minutes in answering the questions.
Anyone have any questions? Anyone online that needs to be unmuted? Please raise a hand or put your question in the chat box. Well, it doesn't seem as if we have any questions, Pratik. I would just say thank you for your input and for your presentation. It was very knowledgeable, and I think everyone has a lot of information now that they need to process. So if we get any questions afterwards, I will maybe forward it to you, and we can put the follow-up email that we will send out. We will send out the recording from this presentation, and if you will share your slide deck as well, we will also send that out afterwards.
Sure.
So thank you everyone, Pratik, and thank you for everyone for attending, and hopefully we will see you again sometime.
Thank you.